UCLA is built for March. Welcome back to Beyond the Box Score. Season 3. I'm Sergio Betts. You already know what time it is. It's March Madness. Selection Sunday has passed. The bracket is set. And now the real journey begins for the UCLA Bruins women's basketball. When you look at everything that has happened this season, it's hard not to feel like this team was built for this exact moment. From the beginning of the year, this program has talked about staying present, staying disciplined, and focusing on the next possession, the next game, the next moment. That message has been repeated all season long by head coach Corey Close, and now we're finally at the time of year where that mentality matters more than anything. March isn't about the regular season anymore. It's about survival, composure, and execution. When you watch this team, you can see why people believe UCLA is built for March. This roster has experience, leadership, and defensive versatility that translates well into tournament basketball. At the center of everything is Lauren Betts. Her presence changes the entire geometry of the court. Teams have to account for her every single possession, not just because of her scoring ability, but because of the way she protects the rim and alters shots defensively. But UCLA's strength isn't just one player. This team is balanced. The leadership of Kiki Rice continues to define the identity of this program. Her ability to control tempo, stay calm under pressure, and make the right decisions late in games is exactly what teams need during March Madness. Then you look at players like Angela Dugolich, who brings experience, toughness, and versatility to the lineup. Her willingness to sacrifice individual moments for the success of the team shows the kind of culture that has been built inside this program. You also have Gabriela Jaquez bringing physicality and emotional leadership, while Charlize Leger-Walker provides experience and composure in critical possessions. Add in the creativity and shot-making ability of Gianna Kniepkins, and you start to see why this roster is one of the most complete teams in the country. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, I think it's safe to say UCLA women's basketball has a real opportunity to reach the Elite Eight this year. That's not just optimism. That's based on what we've seen from this team throughout the entire season. After Selection Sunday, there was a media show where Bob was there talking about how special this moment is. It's always amazing to go back to campus, especially in March, to drive there and walk through Pauley Pavilion when the arena is packed and people are shouting, UCLA. Moments like that remind you how passionate this fan base is and how much energy surrounds this program. For us, doing the work we do on Beyond the Box Score and on Margins and Moments by Sergio Betts, it's incredible to watch this journey unfold in real time. The bigger thing, though, is watching Coach Corey Close and this group of players that understand what it takes to get to this stage. They know the opportunity that's in front of them, but they also know they have to take it game by game and moment by moment. That's the message Coach Close has preached all season. There's the mental side of March Madness, and then there's the basketball side. Both matter. If you look at the way UCLA handled their last matchup against Iowa, they controlled the game completely. They dismantled them. The younger lineup Iowa brought in simply couldn't match UCLA's size, discipline, and defensive pressure. That performance showed why UCLA women's basketball fans and college basketball fans across the country are now fully locked in on this team. If the Bruins reach the Elite Eight, the matchup could potentially be against Duke or LSU depending on how the bracket unfolds. Either way, UCLA will have an opportunity to prove how far this program has come. There's also something else motivating this group this season. Earlier this year, UCLA faced players who transferred out of the program and beat them when they faced them on the court. That's a statement about the culture that remains inside this program. And of course, everyone remembers what happened last season. The loss that ended their run is something that this team hasn't forgotten. If they get another opportunity to face Texas again in this tournament, it's safe to say revenge will be on their mind. I can't wait for the potential matchups against Texas and LSU, because those are the kinds of games that truly test whether a team is ready for a championship run. But even with that motivation, the Bruins understand something important. March isn't won by looking ahead. It's won by focusing on the moment in front of you. That's the mentality Coach Corey Close has built into this team. Stay present. Play the possession. Trust the work. And if UCLA continues to play the way they have all season, there's a real chance that their journey through March Madness could become something historic. If you want, I can also upgrade this slightly so it sounds more like ESPN or the Athletic podcast commentary, which would make it flow better for a full 22-minute episode. Welcome back to Beyond the Box Score, Season 3. I'm Sergio Betts, and you already know what time it is. It's March Madness. Selection Sunday is over, the bracket is out, the path is finally in front of us, and now everything that UCLA women's basketball has built all season gets tested on the biggest stage. This is the time of year where all the talking ends, all the projections stop mattering, and every possession starts to feel heavier. And when I look at this UCLA team, when I look at the way they've carried themselves all season, when I look at the way Coach Corey Close has kept this group centered, disciplined, and connected, I keep coming back to the same phrase over and over again. UCLA is built for March. That's the feeling I had watching this team all year, and that's the feeling I still have right now, as the tournament officially begins. Because this is not some random hot streak. This is not a team that accidentally found itself in this position. UCLA earned this moment. They earned this spotlight. They earned this seed line. They earned this expectation. The Bruins come into the tournament at 31-1 and as a number 1 seed, opening against California Baptist. And even though UConn got the overall top seed, UCLA is right there in that top tier of teams that can win the whole thing. And what makes this so interesting is that when people talk about March, they usually talk about chaos, pressure, madness, emotion, and unpredictability. But when I think about UCLA, I think about the exact opposite. I think about structure. I think about poise. I think about presence. I think about a team that doesn't want to get dragged into the emotional swings of the tournament because they've been preparing mentally for this kind of environment all year long. That has been the language around this program from the start. Stay present. Focus on the next game. Focus on the next moment. Don't skip steps. Don't get distracted by seeding, hype, or outside noise. And what stood out to me from that Selection Sunday media availability is that Coach Corey Close and this roster still sound exactly the same now as they did earlier in the season. There's no panic in their voice. There's no fake confidence. There's no sense that they think the seed itself wins games. The message is the same one it has always been. Handle what's in front of you. That's why this team feels dangerous to me. They're not chasing March. They've been preparing for March. And for me personally, one of the best parts of this time of year is the feeling around campus. There is something different about going back to UCLA in March. It always hits different. Driving in, walking around, feeling the air around Paulie, seeing people locked in, hearing that energy, hearing people say UCLA, hearing people shout, hearing that sense that everybody knows something important is happening, that never gets old. It's special every single time. And for those of us doing the work on Beyond the Box Score and Margins and Moments by Sergio Betts, that feeling matters because it reminds you that this isn't just content. It isn't just clips and reactions and takes. This is a real program, a real fan base, a real moment, and a real opportunity. That's why I take it seriously. That's why I keep showing up with the analysis, because the stakes are real now. This isn't theory anymore. It's tournament basketball. And that's also why I'm proud of the work. Because when the house is packed, and the attention is high, and the pressure is high, that's when the details matter. That's when the people who have really followed the team, really studied the culture, really watched the habits, really paid attention to what Coach Close has been building, start to understand why UCLA has a chance to make this run real. And when I say UCLA is built for March, I'm not just saying they have talent. Everybody left in this tournament has talent. Talent by itself is not enough this time of year. What makes teams last in March is whether their style holds up when the games get tighter, when the possessions slow down, when the scouting gets deeper, and when one bad stretch can end your season. UCLA has the kind of foundation that actually translates. They have interior presence. They have guard leadership. They have lineup flexibility. They have size. They have experience. They have defensive range. They have players who know how to settle a game down and players who know how to break a game open. That matters, because March will expose teams that only know one way to win. UCLA can beat you multiple ways, and that's why they belong in this conversation. It starts, obviously, with Sergio Betts. When you have a player like Sergio Betts anchoring your team, everything changes. The geometry of the floor changes. The psychology of the opponent changes. The margin for error on defense changes. The way your guards can pressure the ball changes. The way teams attack the lane changes. People look at Lauren, and they immediately think size, shot blocking, interior scoring, rim protection, and all of that is true. But the deeper value is the way she lets the rest of the defense breathe. UCLA can be more aggressive because she exists behind the play. Opposing guards know that even if they beat the first defender, they're still driving to length, timing, and discipline at the rim. And what makes Lauren special isn't only what shows up in the box score. It's the deterrence. It's the hesitation she causes. It's the second thoughts. It's how many plays never even fully happen because of her presence. And on top of that, when UCLA needs a stabilizing offensive possession, she gives them one of the most reliable interior anchors in the country. Tournament basketball gets ugly sometimes. Teams go cold, possessions get tense. You need a place to settle yourself. Lauren gives UCLA that place. She is not just a star. She is structure. She is pressure on the opponent every second she's on the floor. And if UCLA is going to make the kind of run we're talking about, Lauren's two-way dominance is at the center of it. But what makes this team feel real, and not one-dimensional, is that they are not just Sergio Betts and everybody else. Kiki Rice is still one of the biggest keys to everything this team wants to do. Kiki gives UCLA identity at the point of decision. In March, your lead guard has to think clearly when everybody else is speeding up. Your lead guard has to make the right read when the defense changes coverages, when the trap comes unexpectedly, when the game swings emotionally, when the crowd is loud, when the other team cuts the lead, when your offense gets stuck, when the clock is dropping. That's where Kiki matters most. She brings composure. She brings understanding. She brings an internal clock that championship-level guards tend to have. She doesn't just play the game. She helps control what kind of game it becomes. And that's a major reason I trust UCLA in this setting. They don't just have talent in the backcourt. They have a player who understands tempo and emotional management. That's huge in the tournament. Then you get to Angela Dugolic, and this is where the culture of the program really starts to show itself. Angela's value goes beyond stats, because her role tells you something about what this team is willing to sacrifice for winning. She brings maturity, versatility, and selflessness. She can stretch the floor, she can defend, she can move within the structure of the offense, and she can play with a team-first mentality that reinforces everything Coach Close wants this program to be. And that matters, because the tournament punishes ego. Teams that want individual validation more than team execution tend to get exposed. Angela has never felt like that kind of player. She feels like the kind of player who understands the bigger goal and embraces the less glamorous work that winning teams need. That's a championship habit. Gabriela Hackers brings another piece that I think is huge for March: emotional force. Every great team needs players who can bring edge, toughness, and emotional honesty without losing their discipline. Gabriela gives UCLA that. She brings physicality, she brings fight. She brings the kind of energy that can swing momentum without becoming reckless. And what I love about Gabriela's presence is that it feels authentic. It doesn't feel manufactured. She's not trying to look intense. She is intense. She cares. She competes. She gives the team personality, and in a long tournament run, that matters more than people think. You need players who can emotionally carry stretches of a game. You need players who can make the building feel alive. You need players who make teammates feel like they are connected to something bigger than themselves. Gabriela does that. Charles Leger-Walker gives UCLA something else that always matters this time of year: decision-making under pressure. You can't have too many players like that in March. There are always moments in tournament games when everything looks messy for a few possessions, and you need somebody who can settle the group down, recognize the matchup, take the right shot, make the right pass, or simply help the team avoid a dumb mistake. Charles brings that calm. She helps make UCLA feel older than the moment. The tournament often turns into a maturity test, and players like Charles are why I believe UCLA can pass that test. Then you add Gianna Neepkins, whose skill set gives UCLA another layer of offensive creativity that makes them harder to scheme against. A player who can shoot, play with pace, manipulate defenders, and create spacing changes everything for the players around her. It helps your post players because there's more room. It helps your guards because help defenders have to think twice. It helps your half-court offense because now the defense cannot shrink comfortably. And when you start stacking those pieces together, Lauren's interior dominance, Kiki's control, Angela's versatility, Gabriela's toughness, Charles's composure, Gianna's spacing and creativity, you stop seeing UCLA as just a very good team and start seeing them as one of the most complete teams in the country. That's the difference. Completeness travels in March. Now, let's talk path, because part of why people were immediately saying UCLA may have one of the tougher roads among the number 1 seeds is that the women's bracket is loaded, and there are high-level teams all over it. ESPN's bracket coverage highlighted that exact idea, that UCLA may have the toughest path to the Final Four among the top seeds. ESPN.com. And that's why I think the mental side, Coach Close keeps preaching, matters so much. Because once the bracket drops, fans naturally start jumping ahead. They start talking about Sweet 16, Elite 8, revenge games, heavyweight matchups, Final Four scenarios. That's what fans do. And to be honest, I do it too, because it's exciting. I can't wait for Texas. I can't wait for LSU. Those are the kinds of matchups that bring out the truth. Those are the kinds of games where you learn exactly how solid a contender really is. But the important thing for UCLA is that they cannot think the way fans think. Fans are allowed to look ahead. Players are not. Coaches are not. Teams that skip emotional steps in March usually pay for it. So even though I'm excited about those possible battles, and even though I know this team has revenge energy in the background from what happened last year and from the loss to Texas earlier this season, the only reason UCLA even gets a chance to see those games is by respecting the game directly in front of them. And that first step is California Baptist. UCLA opens against CBU as the No. 1 seed in that first-round matchup. That is not the place to get cute, lazy, distracted, or too future-focused. That is the place to establish tone immediately. Championship-minded teams don't just win that type of game. They control it. They make it clear from the opening stretch that the size, physicality, discipline, and pace are going to be too much. They remove drama. And if UCLA plays to its standard, that's what this should look like. Not because the tournament owes them anything, but because this is the kind of game where your habits should show. You should see the gap in maturity. You should see the difference in structure. You should see the value of a group that has spent all season building toward this exact pressure point. And then if UCLA advances, the pressure obviously rises. That's where every decision starts to carry more weight. Matchups matter more. Spacing matters more. Foul trouble matters more. Shot quality matters more. Rotations matter more. And this is where I come back again to the overall theme. UCLA is built for these questions. This team doesn't feel flimsy. It doesn't feel dependent on one single game script. It doesn't feel like it needs everything to go perfectly. They can win ugly. They can win with defense. They can win with their front court. They can win with guard control. They can win by wearing teams down physically. They can win with discipline. That's what you want this time of year. One thing I also think matters emotionally for this group is the way this season has unfolded against former players who transferred elsewhere. UCLA was able to beat all the players who left and landed on other teams this year. That matters to me not because transfer storylines are everything, but because it says something about the strength of the culture that stayed. It says something about the belief inside the building. It says something about the buy-in of the players who remained. And culture always feels abstract until March arrives. Then suddenly culture becomes very concrete. Culture is who huddles tighter when momentum turns. Culture is who trusts the scouting report in the fourth quarter. Culture is who accepts an ugly role in a big game. Culture is who remains connected when the score gets uncomfortable. UCLA has looked like a team with real culture, not fake culture, all season. And let's be honest about the bracket conversation too. UCLA fans are locked in right now because they know this team is good enough to make a deep run. They know the potential is real. They know Elite Eight is not some wild fantasy. It's a legitimate possibility if this group plays to its identity. The women's tournament schedule puts the first four on March 18th and 19th, the first round on March 20th and 21st, the second round on March 22nd and 23, the Sweet 16 on March 27th and 28th, the Elite 8 on March 29th and 30th, and the Final Four in Phoenix, starting April 3rd, before the championship game on April 5th. NCAA.com. That means everything becomes compressed. Recovery matters, emotional reset matters, staying grounded matters. You don't have time to reinvent yourself in the tournament. You are who your habits say you are. And that's exactly why I keep trusting UCLA. Their habits have been strong enough all year that I believe they can hold under this pace. What also gives me confidence is the way they looked against Iowa. UCLA didn't just squeak by. They controlled that game. They imposed themselves. They made Iowa look young, rushed, and overmatched by the end of it. And that matters, because late-season games like that tell you whether a team is tightening into tournament shape or just surviving on talent. UCLA looked like a team sharpening itself. They looked like a team that understood how to put pressure on a younger opponent and never let up. And that's another March trait. Real contenders don't simply react. They dictate. Now, do I think every game is going to be easy? No, absolutely not. This field is too strong for that. UConn is undefeated and the overall #1 seed. Texas is right there. South Carolina is right there. LSU has high-end talent. Duke is dangerous. Iowa is respected. Michigan is in the mix. Vanderbilt is highly seeded. This tournament is not set up to hand anybody a free path. AP News. But that's also what makes this so exciting from a UCLA perspective. If this team does what it is capable of doing, the run will mean something. It will be earned against real resistance. It will show the country what this program has become. And for me, that may be the biggest takeaway of all. Watching Coach Corey close with this group, watching how connected they are, watching how often the messaging returns to the moment, the possession, the work, the joy, the discipline, it is hard not to respect what has been built here. This isn't just a talented roster having a hot year. This feels like a program with substance. And when you have substance, plus star power, plus leadership, plus defense, plus a real center, like Sergio Betts anchoring everything, you become the kind of team nobody wants to see in a bracket. That's where UCLA is now. So yes, I'm excited. Yes, I'm looking ahead emotionally, even while understanding the team cannot. Yes, I want that Texas matchup. Yes, I want to see what happens if LSU ends up in the path. Yes, I want to watch this program face the kinds of games that define legacies. But before any of that, I want to see UCLA do exactly what Coach Close has demanded all year. Take it game by game, moment by moment, possession by possession. Because if they do that, if they remain who they have been, if they stay inside their identity, then this team has a real chance to do something special. A real chance to get to the Elite Eight. A real chance to push beyond that. A real chance to turn this season from memorable into historic. And that is why I keep saying it. Not because it sounds good, not because it's dramatic, not because March makes everybody emotional. I keep saying it because when I look at the roster, the habits, the leadership, the mentality, the coaching, and the way this team has responded all year, it feels true. UCLA is built for March. This is the moment they've been preparing for. This is the time when discipline becomes destiny. This is the time when presence matters more than hype. This is the time when culture either holds or cracks. And I think UCLA has what it takes to hold. I think they have what it takes to make this run real. I think they have what it takes to walk into this tournament with pressure on them and still play like themselves. And if they do, then all the talk about seeding, all the talk about path, all the talk about who's waiting later, all of that becomes secondary. Because the main story will be simple. UCLA stayed present, trusted the work, and proved it belongs in the biggest games of March. This is Sergio Betts, and this has been Beyond the Box Score, Season 3. And right now, more than ever, UCLA women's basketball looks like a team built for this stage.